Kwajalein contractors have been in the process of cleaning up the shoreline for the last year and a half. This area was used as the dump back when the Navy still operated the island. Glenn Schunkweiler has been Kwajalein's cleanup manager for the last 15 years.
The spring of 2018, we started clearing away vegetation and the hillside here to be able to get at the shoreline. And then over the last approximately year, we've been removing what was the former dump that was on the shorelines of this area. This area served as the main landfill or dump for the island when the Navy operated the island back in 1944 through 1964. So they pushed all of their dump and waste just out onto the shoreline.
The primary purpose was to combat the contamination that was being released into the ocean from the various materials that had been dumped at the shoreline. This discovery was made back in 2011 when the team was testing this area as well as the current dump for possible contamination.
We're seeing contaminants in the form of metals and polychlorinated biphenyls or PCBs being released into the marine environment and being accumulated in the fish. And so this project is primarily in response to finding those contaminants in the marine environment and trying to minimize our release of contaminants to the marine environment. The primary purpose was to minimize our release of contaminants, so it gets those contaminants out of the marine environment and prevents future and further contamination of the reef fish along the landfill reef flat. So it'll serve to protect future consumers of that reef fish, and then it also makes this area a lot more usable and a lot more aesthetically pleasing for the use by the garrison and by the residents here.
The area that they covered is quite large, totaling at about 2,000 feet of shoreline. For anyone that may have seen it before, may not recognize the place with all the changes made in the last year and a half.
We've removed all the dump debris from the shoreline along about 2,000 feet of shoreline extending from Glass Beach to the Shark Pit and then all the way around Mount Olympus to the Met Rockets area. So all of that former dump material and debris and metallic debris that used to be sitting in the ocean has now been removed and has been replaced with a rock revetment to armor up and protect the shoreline from erosion.
Of course, with working here on the former battlefield, safety was key, keeping an eye on what they came across at every step of the way. The EOD team became an extremely important part of this cleanup and revetment process.
It was a project that was always finding something, and whether it was an unexploded ordnance or an artifact, it made the safety for the project a priority, and we were very fortunate to not have any accidents or any safety issues during the project for the year and a half that we were operating out here, and all of the ordnance was safely disposed of and taken care of properly by the EOD team that was excellent in supporting us. It's very fulfilling to see this project come from its initial stages all the way through to completion. It's a proud moment for us. We're in the final weeks of demobilizing. We're actually, with each rock barge that came in, we loaded it back up with accumulated scrap metal and shoreline scrap metal that we had pulled off of the shoreline. And so in total, we're going to remove more than 15 million pounds of scrap metal from the island as well, and is going to clear up a lot of area for use for other activities. It's been we put together a very good team, and it's been a successful project all throughout.
Soon enough, this ongoing project will be at its completion. At the time of this recording, the area is still closed, but as he said, USACA has already been in discussion as to what will be done with the newly available space. AFN staff got to speak with a team of divers that were brought in to do inspections on the docks on various islands here in the atoll. We had the opportunity to hear more about the project and the process.
So we were here working for MCOM, Infrastructure Command, and we were evaluating the structural condition of various facilities across the islands. We looked at 49 sites on 10 different islands while we were here, and our goal is to write a report to document any structural deficiencies, so that way the garrison can get funding in order to correct any deficiencies that there are. And the life cycle of the project is in the 4 to 5 year time frame.
To expand upon that, we perform these inspections for IMCOM worldwide. This is for another one in a long series of inspections. We were at Naha Port in Okinawa last year. We were at Camp Darby, Italy the year before, Busan, South Korea. Stateside, we've been in Aberdeen, Fort McNair, Rattlesnake Point in Florida. So they keep us moving around doing these inspections to keep up with facility condition assessments.
So what does a typical day look like on the job?
A typical day working here on Kwaj is, of course, coordinated with Mr. Mike Woundy, getting our boats together, getting all of our equipment together, based on our previous day's plan about the dive activities for the day. And after then, it's just getting in the water. And we have a term that we use for the kind of diving while we're in Kwaj, it's called Gucci diving. It's called designer diving because the water's so clear, it allows us to complete our work or our mission in about 50% of the time it would take in normal waters in other places. So a typical dive day probably stretches maybe anywhere from 8 to 10 hours depending on the structures that we're evaluating. And once we finish everything, we make sure everyone's okay. We go through some safety checks to make sure no one's took on extra nitrogen and nothing's funny going on with the divers. Once we do that, we go back to shore.
During the time the diver is in the water, we have a strict set of safety standards in which we stand at the ready in case that diver is in trouble and someone has to go into the water to assist the diver back to the vessel. Primary importance for us is to make sure that each diver goes home the same way they showed up to work that morning.
So could one of you tell me about the inspection process?
We do it's a kind of a 3-level type of inspection system. We do 100% what we call level 1 inspections, which we just do a swim by on all of the structure underneath the water. We then select out, we call it level 2 inspections. About 10% of the structure gets cleared of all marine debris, marine growth, to get a full look at whatever the substructure is, or the actual structure itself, be it steel or concrete. On steel, we saw quite a bit of corrosion on the structures out here, so that's one of the primary things we're looking at. We have a ultrasonic thickness gauge that we wear that we can put on the steel that tells us the thickness. Taking that thickness and comparing it with the as-built conditions, we can get an overall idea of the degradation and the load capability of that structure. With concrete, we're looking for cracks, fractures, spalls, exposed, the structural steel, anything that's going to cause that structure or facility to lose its strength. Kind of barbarian, but we're down there effectively with a hammer just swinging at it, and hitting the structures and seeing what falls off and what sticks to it.
I see you've brought us a helmet. Can you tell us more about that?
So this is our Kirby Morgan band mask. It's a KMB-18. I'm sure everybody's familiar with the Kirby Morgan helmets, the full things that go around your head. This is basically a lighter, more portable version of that. The diver gets fully suited into that. We are running this in scuba mode, so we're normally, you wear a helmet, you've got a dive source on the surface. We're just wearing a 80 cubic foot scuba cylinder that feeds into our side block, which then feeds down into our regulator for us to breathe. It's an on-demand regulator, so as you pull in, it just fills the mask with air. As you exhale, there's a dump valve on the bottom while your air comes out.
And probably the coolest part is it basically has an AC unit. You open up a valve and you get fresh air right across your face.
We talked about this last year. Rick and Daryl both were out here last year assisting us on Echo Pier for some QA work, doing structural inspections on Foxtrot berth. And that's when Rick first mentioned this program existed, and then he did the lead-in work with MCOM, and it took on a life of its own. So I know Rick has said it. I don't take credit for it. I had some help from Tim Bears and a couple other people. Obviously, you're only as good as your team is. Mm-hmm. So evolution-wise, it's probably about a 6 to 8 month evolution of back and forth emails. Are we going to get there? Hey, am I going to make it back? Are you going to be able to make it? And luckily, everything worked out quite well.
In addition to the dive capabilities, we have a vast array of technical capabilities. Everybody here has their own specialty. Steve's a hydraulic engineer, scour specialist. I do coastal analysis, coastal geology type work. Daryl's brings in the safety expertise. Rick's our
They're trying to figure out what I do, so yeah.
And Mike's our local knowledge. But we have structural engineers on the team. We have other program managers. We have biologists. We're not necessarily a centralized in one spot team. We have folks all across the continental U.S. that we can call upon and pull with their particular technical expertise for whatever job is necessary.
And that's what makes the team so unique, is that we have this vast pool of talent which we can in fact take from and kind of fit to what the mission need is.
The team finished up their inspections at the end of August and have already headed out to start their new project.
What's up, Kwaj people? Welcome to Learning Kajin module. I'm Sammy Judah. We're gonna learn some Marshallese to get you speaking better in the Marshall Island. Today's words are hayat and job, and it's pronounced hayat job. Hayat mean yes, job mean no. We always use these two words when we answering question. So we always use this, like, for example, if people ask you, can you do this? You could say, ayat imarong, mean yes, I can. Or if you can't, use jab ijab marong, mean no, I can't. We just learned these two words, ayat and jab, means yes or no. For example, if someone asks you to do something, you can say, yes, I can, ayat imarong, or no, I can't, jab ijab marong. Keep that in mind. Next time someone asks you yes or no question, use ayat or jab. And tune in next time to learn more Kajin module.